The time of the winter moons is the time for stories, and the winter woods are full of tales. This story comes from Sweden. It's called Salt on a Raven's Wing. There's something about this time of year when the snow falls, when the nights come early, a time of candlelight and dreaming and gifts. And so in the long ago, a mother and her son live out in the woods. And oh, her son, he is a dreamer. He has big dreams, and he brings them to life every single day with his favorite toys. You know, toys are not just pieces of wood or plastic. Toys are magic. The mother makes brooms and sells them at market. They don't have much, but they have enough. And he's got a few things to play with. And his favorite toys, they're the ones that help him dream a bright future. He has heroes and sleds and horse. But as he dreams of heading out into the world, finding adventures of his own, he can't help but wonder, this boy, what it would be like to have a real heroic knife, a real sled, a real horse. So one night, as the snow is falling, there comes a knock at the door. And it's the old traveling storyteller. And he's come so far, but he still has so far to go. And he's wondering if he might trade a few stories and a few songs for a bit of warmth by the fire. Well, they've heard him tell, they've heard him play before, and they invite him in. And at the end of the evening, he overhears the boy with his favorite toys, wishing they were real. And he says to him, I have a secret to tell you. There's magic in these winter woods. Take your three favorites, take 3 candles out into the woods where there's still green leaf and red berry. There, make your wishes, leave them overnight, and afterwards, in the morning, walk out with a bit of salt in your pocket. Find a raven who will allow you to put some salt on his wings, and those wishes will come true. Well, the boy does just as he's told. The old storyteller and his mother, they come out into the woods with him, and they light the candles, and they leave them burning bright through the night. The next day, the old storyteller goes on his way, and the boy goes out into the woods. And when he comes into the woods, he calls out, Raven, Raven. But no ravens in the woods will allow him to approach. At last, he's a little downhearted, and he hums a song his father used to sing. La-da-da-dee-dee, la-da-dee-dee, la-da-dee-dee. To his surprise, down from one of the snowy trees comes a great raven. And the boy says, I have 3 wishes, and I'm wondering, will you allow me to place a little salt on your wing feathers to make my wish come true? The raven looks at him, and the raven says, you know, I'm not just a raven, right? I am the spirit of one of your ancestors, and I would be happy to allow you to place a little salt on one of my wing feathers if you can bring something for me as a gift. Boy says, I'll do anything I can. The raven says, I'd like you to bring me a small pocket knife so that I can use it to clean my beak and clean my claws. Well, the boy doesn't know what to do about this. Where's he going to get a pocket knife? But he agrees, and he begins to walk home. And as he walks home, he sees the winter berries all around. And he thinks to himself, maybe this is my solution. He begins to pick the winter berries. And over the weeks ahead, he takes them to market when his mother goes. And he sells them a little bit at a time. And to his surprise, after a couple of weeks, he has enough coin to buy a small pocket knife. Well, it's just like the one he was dreaming of, but he takes it out to the raven, and he hums the song. La da da dee dee, la da dee dee, la da dee dee. Down comes the raven. Boy offers him the knife, and the raven looks at it. He says, it's very plain. It's not really fit for the needs of an ancestor. I tell you what, you keep the knife. What about my wish? Says the boy. The raven says, well, I still haven't gotten what I need. I'd be happy to let you put a little salt on my wing feathers if you bring me a sled. The boy agrees, but how's he going to get a sled? That's even more impossible than the knife. But as he's walking home, he thinks about the joy that his own toys have brought him, and he comes with an idea. Over the weeks ahead, he carves out of little pieces of wood small toys. He continues collecting the berries, and he goes with his mother to the market. And over the weeks and months ahead, he sells more berries and the small toys he makes. In time, he has enough coin for a sled. He's so excited as he's taking it out to the woods. He looks at it and he thinks, this is just the kind of sled I was hoping for, but I will give it to the raven. When he comes out, he hums the song. Down comes the raven. The raven looks at the sled and he says, I was needing something with a little more ornamentation, maybe a little silver and gold. I am an ancestor after all. This sled is not for me. Tell you what, you keep it. But what of my wish, says the boy. Raven says, I will allow you to place some salt on my wing feathers if you bring me a horse. The boy walks out of the woods after agreeing, and he thinks to himself, how am I going to get a horse? That's completely impossible. But as he walks out of the woods, he sees the berries, he's got some wood toys that he's carved in his pocket, and he thinks to himself, I have an idea. Over the weeks and months ahead, it takes longer. He continues collecting berries, carving the toys, and he uses his sled. He takes it to market, and he makes arrangements with people to carry their goods home for them in exchange for a few coins. Well, months go by, and at last, people in the village are impressed with the hard work of this young man, and they appreciate his help. And with the coins he saves up, with a little bit of generosity from one of the farmers, he is able to buy a small horse. He takes it out to the woods thinking, this is just the kind of horse I had wished for. He calls to the raven. La da da dee dee, la da dee dee, la da dee dee. Down comes the raven. The raven says, this is just a pony. This is not fit for my own needs. You keep the horse. But what of my wish, says the boy. The raven says, you have worked very hard. If you like, you can put some salt on my wing feather and make your wishes. Well, the boy pulls the salt out of his hands. The raven extends his wing, and to the boy's amazement, he can't think of a single wish. All of his wishes have come true. The raven says, that's the key. The magic is not in the wishing. It's in a little effort. And with that, the raven flies off, and the boy smiles to himself, realizing he'll never need to carry salt in his pocket again.